If you get right down to it, I guess you could say that the main purpose of a publisher is to get writers from vision to reality. So how do you look at your role in this process?
For me, the task of a publisher is to connect writers and readers.
How would you say you can be most effective in this role?
Well, the way I think of it is that the publisher's first task is to serve as a proxy for the reader. It's our responsibility to help writers understand how they are being perceived, whether they are speaking in order to be heard. Our mission in shaping a text should be largely bent to that purpose. Given this, it's terribly important for every publisher to keep a fresh perspective, to resist becoming too sunk in an author's perception of text, and to provide stimulation and an objective eye on what a book says and what we need to say about it in order to attract and inform readers. Publishing is often about extrapolating between two separate outcomes, what the proposed book could eventually become, and how the intended market will evolve over the time between now and publication day. Our job is to work with the author to produce the best possible book, and the book which speaks with the highest degree of relevance to the situation that emerges as we approach publication time. Writers should be aware that the process doesn't necessarily need to be linear. It may come as a shock, for example, that the first chapter of many books is the last chapter to be written. Often, a writer writes a draft of chapter 1 just to get the motor started. Then, after the entire book is written, the author must circle back to write the first chapter anew, so that it will fit with the book as it has taken shape. To paraphrase Anne Lamott, just to keep going with that motor analogy, writing a book is like driving a car at night. You don't need to be able to see all of the dark shapes that flash by your route, nor do you need to see the end. All you need is to follow the headlight beam as far as it takes you.
Okay, but I think you do need to have some idea of where you're going. Later in this month's podcast, Dan Rome talks a lot about the visual aspect of clarifying your vision. Visualizing your problem is a big part of getting it solved. Fittingly, his book is predominantly visual, using illustrations in place of straight text. So how do you decide to buy books like The Back of a Napkin or, say, Hugh MacLeod's Ignore Everybody, which don't follow the traditional business book format?
Every publishing decision, including the decision to sign up Back of the Napkin or Ignore Everybody, involves a vision, because books often depart quite strongly in the writing from what they were in proposal form. Actually, Hugh's and Dan's work presented less of an imaginative leap because their visual style of presenting ideas would characterize the eventual books that they produced quite strongly.
So can you think of some other books that have resonated with business book readers who are looking to move from visualizing to actually taking action?
One of the most famous is Getting Things Done. A few years ago, Ram Charan wrote a classic business book on the subject of implementing ideas called Execution, which started out as an article in Fortune magazine about how difficult it is for leaders to lead the process of implementing ideas, big ideas in businesses. And of course, there's the classic 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is all about how individuals manage to get things done in their world.